Hey, thank you to, hey, hello. Uh, Thank you for coming here. Thank you for being with us. This is like the snooze session after lunch. Uh, but good to have you here. We want this to be a conversation. We want this, to be a bit more participative. We don't want PowerPoint presentations and everything. I'm Christo Velkov, Mike. We will have Ahmed, we'll have James, and we will have Johanna who will join on the screen. And I work for Special Olympics. Special Olympics is one of the three Olympic organizations, the Olympics, Paralympics, and then Special Olympics. And Special Olympics works with people with intellectual disabilities. They would have other disabilities as well, but intellectual disabilities. And the other difference is that Special Olympics doesn't happen once every 4 years. Special Olympics is much more of a community engagement, organization, empowerment, inclusion organization for people with disabilities. And here is how we want to frame this conversation, this discussion with all of you. Sports offers a very powerful counter-narrative to a world where people are defined by a bank account and by a degree. And that's a reality, That's a reality. You meet somebody, you go, what you do for a living. If we choose to live in that world, we're missing the beauty of what? Another 80, 90% of the people who live on this planet. And sports, I'm not talking about elite sports. I'm not talking about Olympic Games. I'm not talking about Beijing or Messi or Ronaldo or Hamilton. I mean the sports that, me overweight I can do on the weekend. That kind of sports where you do it in the neighborhood, you do it with your neighbors, you do it in the community, with your friends. Not the sports that has records. You can sit together, have a coffee, have a beer after that. What value this sport, that type of sport, brings to the people who participate in it and the people around them. We want to have a conversation about that. Mike, tell us about you. Tell us about your organization. Tell us about how you look at those things.
Thanks, Christo. So my name is Michael Rice. I'm the Media and Communications Manager for CAFE, the Centre for Access to Football in Europe. We work predominantly around the live match experience of disabled sports fans to ensure that the experience is one that's accessible and inclusive, but also one that's welcoming, one that disabled people feel they want to go and enjoy. I think we've touched on already, and I mentioned also my impact transfer pitch yesterday. Sport has this incredible power that no other concept really has to be able to change lives. Sport dictates political movement from time to time. Sport empowers people to be who they want to be on a stage they want to be on. And I think, obviously, I mentioned my work is predominantly around the spectating side, but as a participant of sport, you get that buzz, you get that adrenaline feel, and you feel like a part of a team. Whether it's an individual sport or a part of a team like football or rugby, you're part of something much bigger, and it really helps to unify people. I think sport's a global language. Language barriers don't exist in the same way on a football pitch or a rugby pitch as it does in a meeting room, for example. And I think, there's such untapped power within sport still that we can really help people to achieve the best who they want to be, make people feel part of something bigger and feel welcomed into a society that maybe they don't always feel particularly welcome within.
Mike, a quick question. You said welcome in the society where they don't feel welcome. You mentioned political. Sports is supposed to be apolitical. It's one of the most political activities since the first Olympic Games, I would say. You also mentioned global. Explain. Tell us.
Yeah, I think whether you're playing, so football is my key area, so I will naturally come back to football, but it could be the same with any sport. Whether you're playing in a garden against your brothers and sisters, or whether you're playing at Wembley Stadium in front of 90,000 people, that buzz and that excitement that you get still remains the same. And sport really does help to bridge the divide between us. I think once we're out on that pitch or playing whichever sport we play, we are equals then, regardless of how society treats us far away from there. We are equals competing against one another.
Thank you very much. Bridge the divide equals. We'll get back to that. But whom do we have on the screen now? Hey, James, great to see you. Johanna, Ahmed. First of all, James, how is your wife?
She is okay at the moment. Sorry, I should explain to the audience. I was due to join you in Vienna, and I wish I could have joined you in Vienna. But on the day that I was supposed to travel, my wife tested positive for COVID. So I did not think it would be responsible of me to come to you all when there's a high likelihood that I might infect you all. So I am here joining you virtually instead. But it's good to see you all.
Well, we definitely miss you. But tell us how you approach sport as a tool for empowerment in London.
Sure, thanks, Christo. So for the audience, I should explain. My name is James. I have a number of different roles that are of relevance to our work at the Zero Project. I have a couple of different advisory roles with the local government in London, and I also work for a number of funding organisations here in the UK. And across my various funding roles, I think all of those organisations recognise the importance of funding sport and the participation in sport for disabled people, because whilst we see and recognise the importance of the enjoyment of sport, just for the sake of enjoyment itself, we also understand that sport is a really effective tool for creating a wide range of positive outcomes for disabled people or people with disabilities. You know, we see sport as a tool for positive health outcomes. Sport is a great tool for equipping people with valuable life skills. And sport is a really powerful tool for building community cohesion. So a lot of this has been touched on by yourself and Michael, and I think that we can agree that while sport in itself is a great leveler and a wonderful thing for people to be able to participate in, it is also a means to a very powerful ends for people.
Tell us a bit more about, you work for a funding organization, but you mentioned community cohesion through sports. Tell us about that, your experiences at the community level, micro level, not the macro level, the micro level.
Sure, well, we've spoken about this, and I think Special Olympics is a great example of how sport can help build community cohesion. It is a way of bringing together people who may not share the same walks in life, may not have much in common until they begin to play sport together. And one of my favorite things around inclusive sport is when you involve people with disabilities or disabled people and non-disabled people together in the same activity, in the same grouping. We've seen really powerful outcomes around that. At a London, at a local level, you know, there's been a huge rise in all sorts of community sports programs that are not necessarily targeted for disabled people or people with disabilities, but which have inclusion and accessibility at the core of their program and the core of their offering, so that all sorts of people can join in. And these programs have proven to be wildly successful in integrating communities. You know, London is such a diverse place with so many people from all over the world coming to London. And there is a very good reason why we fund a lot of sporting initiatives that build community cohesion, because we've seen that it works.
Thank you so much. I would like to get back to you later. Think about barriers that sports, inclusive sports, unified sports between people who have a disability and people who don't have a disability. What are the barriers to do more of that? But let's go to Johanna now. Hello, welcome.
Hi, Christo. Thank you. Nice to see you all.
Tell us about your organization, Johanna.
Well, you were just mentioning that no slides, but I said to Sumi that I might want to show my slides because I have some pictures in there which will show you what we do, basically.
Please do.
Yeah. So my name is Johanna Sakko. I work as a coordinator in Malike Inclusion Finland KVTL. Can I get the next slide, please? So what we do in Inclusion Finland and in Malike, I will just shortly mention a few things. So we offer participation possibilities for children and adults with severe disabilities. So with severe disabilities, I mean people who need much support in moving, learning and communication also. And we do it by using assistive devices like buggies, adaptive bikes, sledges for snow and ice, which we basically have half a year in Finland, kayaks, adaptive alpine skiing also. So we do a lot of outdoor activities, not only sports, but also some sports, but mostly outdoor activities. Can I get the next slide? So we work together with close persons and professionals. We organize events, courses and trainings. We have trained hundreds and hundreds of professionals in Finland over the last 2 decades. And we work nationwide all over Finland. So we go where the people are. We don't expect people to travel to us, but we travel a lot. And can I get the next one? But beside that, this is maybe one thing I would like to emphasize also because it's also quite interesting. Usually that we also have this small-scale rental service in 3 towns in Finland, and it's only for short-term testing. And the idea is that people can test the device before maybe purchasing it themselves. And it's online renting system, and the devices are either sent to the customers or they can pick them up. And beside that, we also have a trailer for rent. But this is only small scale renting, but it's been working for 15 years. So, and can I get the next slide? Well, okay, this was just a small slide for different ways to purchase a device in Finland, but we will not go into these specific things. Maybe there's one thing I would like to say is that we have like increasingly towns and communities are buying getting their own devices, and then everyone can borrow it from their community. And this is like increasing all the time, and it makes our renting system unnecessary, which is very good thing. But this is one very good trend in Finland at the moment. And maybe the last slide, there are my contact and Malike, if you want to see what we do more. Thank you.
Thank you very much. Thank you very much, Johanna. 2 immediate questions. The first one, you said outdoor activities. So you go out, you go in the community, you go in the neighborhood. What's the reaction of the people when they see what you're doing? And my second question is, you mentioned, renting this equipment. This is expensive. This is expensive stuff. How do you approach that? And I would like, this second question, I would also like to hear James' opinion on that. Over to you.
Yeah, thank you. Usually, always the reaction when we go outdoor is very positive. People are excited, the customers or everyone is excited. And also the neighborhood is very excited about seeing us, and we always get a lot of people come to talk to us and ask our devices and so on. And the second question was that it's very expensive. Yeah, the renting is not expensive. The devices are very expensive, and it is not possible for everyone to have their own device in Finland. If you get it as a medical rehabilitation, the device, then it's free for you. But if it's for your hobby, you have to pay half of the price of the device. And if you buy your adaptive bike, it's almost, or it could be 10,000 euros. So you have to pay 5,000. So it's very expensive, and it's one of the barriers in Finland, if you ask me, that not nearly everyone are possible to have those devices. Yeah, basic wheelchairs, yeah, but nothing for your hobbies. But what about James?
James, 10,000 euros, that looks like a lot of money to me, to be able to practice sports or outdoors activities.
It is a lot of money. Sadly, I think that is a common picture, and to throw it out to the audience in the room, I think a point for discussion later is that I think we would all love to hear more about everyone in the room's experiences of trying to access specialist equipment, stuff that enables participation in sport. Do you find it difficult to procure these items from the perspective of your own NGO or country, or where you're joining us from? I would love to hear from people in the room about that. But from my perspective, it is a problem. It is something that I've been aware of for some time. And from a funding perspective, especially, it is a barrier quite often. If you approach a funder who may not understand the importance of the specialist equipment and also the huge price tag associated with specialist equipment, it can be very hard to include this equipment in funding bids and proposals, and to have the need for that understood by a funder. And I think that there is a really big problem here, which I think, again, I would like to throw out to the audience for us to dissect later, which is around the undeniably massive markup that we find on specialist pieces of equipment which are targeted at this very specific audience of people with disabilities or disabled people. There have been studies that show that on things such as, for example, powered wheelchairs, something up to 85% of the cost of a powered wheelchair can just be pure profit and markup for the company that's making it. And so a thought that I know that we've sort of bandied around and discussed at points is this idea of, well, would it be possible for NGOs, maybe someone with the backing of something like the Zero Project or our wonderful colleagues here at the UN, to develop some sort of company or NGO that manufactured specialist equipment that was available at a much more accessible market price? But again, that's another thought that I'll leave in part with the audience for later.
Thank you very much. We'd definitely like to hear the opinion of the audience about the huge cost of specialized equipment, what approaches we could be exploring. But before that, let's go to Ahmed in Egypt, who will tell us about diving. Great
Hello,
to have you with
everyone.
us. Thank you. Thank you for coming up.
Thank you so much. I would love to share my slides as well. So first of all, my name is Ahmed Elbana. I'm founder of Nomad Divers Egypt. And can we go to the next slide? So basically, Nomad Divers is a community that promotes and develops and conducts scuba diving trainings customized for people with disabilities. And our vision is diving for all. We all know that 71% of planet Earth is covered underwater. However, only 5% is discovered. We all know as well that the Earth population is around 7.9 billion. However, only 9 million people are actively diving all over the world. So here there is a great potential for us to let everyone to discover scuba diving, especially people with disabilities. Next slide, please. So let me just go through a quick review about our project. Our project was to conduct diving certifications in the last year for at least like 10 people with disabilities, with different disabilities. Our project has two main goals. We all know that sports have a good effect for everyone, especially people with disabilities. However, scuba diving has two main goals for that. I want to share it with you. First one is that scuba diving will let everyone to feel the freedom, especially people with disabilities. They will not feel the same challenge or obstacle that they might feel on the surface. Once they go underwater, they feel that they are resistant to gravity. They might feel that there is no need for any assistive tools or wheelchairs or whatever. So this is one of the main goals for our project. Also, the second one is about changing lives and changing perspectives. We all know that the importance of inclusion. We all work for that, and we will all sharing this value, which is to make someone without disability to help or to just be aware about people with disabilities needs. And that's what we mainly do. Can we go to the next slide, please? As I said, next slide. I already covered this one. Yeah. In this slide, I just want to share that it's not only about the girl in this picture, which is Zaina. She has like 4 different disabilities, but it's all about the big picture, which is there's like 2 or 3 more people. They are trying to get the training to be able to be certified professionals to help everyone, and especially for persons with disabilities. And here, this is the achievement of the inclusion in our project. Can we go to the next slide? We have a lot of opportunities. We had a lot of opportunities actually for innovation in our project. Starting from the customized training that we don't have like a big reference, because we all know that even if we have 2 people with disabilities, definitely the challenges and the needs are different. So it's a big part of our innovative aspect in our project, that's we customized like every single training session for everyone. So starting from that, we have a very basic classification for people with disabilities through 3 levels. First level, we all know that scuba diving, it's all about communication. It's all about that you communicate with others with different ways, even if it's like hand signals, like this is okay, or I have problem or whatever, or even to feel, or even with a smile. So you can smile to your guide or instructor, so you can communicate, so we feel that we have a good experience together. So the first level, that's someone who can help himself or herself, but cannot help others, okay? The second level is that someone can not help himself or herself, and also cannot help others. And the third one is someone can help himself or herself and can help others as well. And here, this is like a simple classifications for us in our methodology in the trainings, that we try to make everyone to feel more confident, more independent, and also providing the assistive tools for that. We also working in a very advanced aspect, which is like we try to create our own like assistive tools. For example, scuba gear, it's not that it's not easy to explain it now, but for example, that we might need like small parts for someone who's like quadriplegic or something. And also we start to use some technologies like 3D printing to create or to manufacture small parts of equipment, and then people with disabilities can dive independently. And also recently we start to develop a virtual reality system that makes everyone to try the scuba diving on a virtual experience before they go to the water. So now we're trying to minimize the time that we might take in the water or underwater, and we maximize the level of having fun and the diving experience itself. And definitely, we all know that the importance or the potential for more opportunities for accessible tourism. Our project took a place in Egypt, in a small city. It's called Dahab City. It's a part of Gulf of Aqaba in Sinai, along the Red Sea. So it has a very beautiful coral reef. And also, it's very unique because almost all the dive sites are easy to reach from the shore. So now we don't waste a lot of time to go to the water and try to take a lot of time in transportation and so on. So, and here, this is a big opportunity for everyone, especially the investors and everyone in Egypt or outside, to try to let everyone who have a disability or different disability to travel and to discover the world. Can we go to the next slide, please? I just want to share quickly like two of our success stories. We have a lot of success stories, but I just want to specifically share these two. First one, that I want all of you to imagine that everyone is telling you that scuba diving is all about to see and to watch the beauty and the colors and the corals. But no one tells you that it's about feeling. And then you have visual impairment, and then you just decide to discover this beauty and to go through this challenge. And then you prove that it's all about feeling first, not to watch or not to see. And our first success story is about Radwa Hassan. She's the first Egyptian to be certified as a scuba diver by Nomad divers. Through her training sessions, she was very excited, and also her childhood dream was all the time that she wanted to be a fish. And together we did it. So now she can feel that she's a fish. And the second story is about a real legend. In 2010, someone was like a champion. Everyone telling him that he's like the Egyptian champion for he was an athlete before, and then he had an accident, total loss of everything, like from the neck to down, no sensation at all. And then he worked on himself, and then he become like now a certified scuba diver. And through his training sessions, I didn't touch him even. He was independently swimming underwater. And now he has the dream to be the deepest quadriplegic scuba diver in the world. He wants to attempt the Guinness record for that. So this is like two of our success stories. Let's go to the next level, next slide. Basically, we have a lot of challenges, but basically, we all know that in Egypt, especially in Egypt, we have a lot of challenges for people with disabilities needs, like that we don't have the experienced instructors or assistants. We have a lack of that. And that's why we're trying actually to build a lot of calibers, a lot of candidates to be even certified professional instructors or assistants. Second thing, the lack of awareness among people with disabilities themselves. They might feel that it's hard to try something like that. And then, and now we're trying actually to make like a campaign on social media and and the media to just spread the word and let everyone that they can try scuba diving. And definitely, I talked about assistive tools, which is a big challenge for us. And now all the direction that is going to for the customized equipment, especially for people with disabilities. The next slide, please. About the sustainability in our projects, we are mainly making cooperations with some organization in Egypt and also outside Egypt. So we start this project with the organization Helm. She's one of the main partner for us. They're working on this accessibility, and now they have actually a project to make Dahab City, which is the place that our project taking place. They are trying to make all Dahab City accessible for everyone. And also we had a good partnership with the biggest chain of pharmacies in Egypt. It's called the Azabi Pharmacies, and also Al Tijari Bank Wafa. This is one of the promising bank in Egypt. They really help us a lot. They provide sponsorship for more people with disabilities to try scuba diving and to get the certification. And the next slide, please. Next steps for us is that we are working now to launch a fully accessible diving center. We are now on the process to finish the legal parts and to get more investment. And hopefully soon we'll have the first fully accessible diving center in Egypt. And also we are developing a mix between virtual reality and augmented reality technology to use it for trainings, especially for people with disabilities. And definitely we are trying to seek more global network and especially to promote the inclusive diving tourism. And as I said about Amr Suhagi, the quadriplegic legend, that he wants to attempt a Guinness record soon. And also we are training two people with disabilities to attempt a Guinness World Record, which will promote the accessible tourism, and that everyone can dive, especially people with disabilities. I just want to end my talk about the photo on this slide. It's about a small boy. He has 7 years old. Soon he will have 8 years old. He will be 8 years old. And this is the minimum requirement to try scuba diving. So every time I saw this boy, he's Russian. He's living in city of Dahab. Every time I saw him in the water, he just come close to me while I'm teaching anyone. And then he doesn't speak like a lot of English, but he saved the words of Benna, I want to dive. So every time I saw him, he just inspired me to learn more about his disability. He has spina bifida, and it's a global community. We had cooperation before, but actually they need a specific customized parts of equipment. But soon, I promise that I will be sharing his diving story next year in the Zero project. So thank you all. I really happy to share my experience for empowering more people with disabilities through scuba diving. Thank you so much.
Wow, that's mind-blowing, Ahmed. You know how you do it. You know how the human side of it, but also how you have put together the whole systems around it. You know, the technology, the augmented reality, the equipment that you need, the accessible environment that you need. I have one question. Tell us about the first dive of somebody who's being told all his life, her life, this is not for you. You cannot do it. Stay put where you are. And then they achieve something exceptional. You must have quite a few of those stories. Tell us about that.
So I still remember that 5 years ago, I was working as an engineer. I was totally shifting my career and my goals to be a scuba diver. And then after I achieved the instructor level, I felt that I might go back to engineering again, and then I might be diving for fun. But on the same day, I was deciding that there is someone who's visually impaired, just entered the diving center I was working for, and then he just said, guys, I want to dive. I still feel the same feeling, which is astonishing. How come someone cannot see and then he wants to dive? And it's all about the colors, it's all about the creatures. This is my mentality since then. But after that, all my colleagues, they felt shy to go and dive with this guy. And then I just Google it. How can I go with someone who's visually impaired underwater? How to communicate? It's all about the communication. And then I studied. And then with someone who's visually impaired, we just communicate through the hand signals. Like this is okay, or this is okay, and so on. So the instructor and the guide will be holding the hand of the visually impaired person, and then we go together. And then underwater, I felt like I was seeing a smile, a big smile all the dive on his face. And then I saw an octopus. And then I just did that, this is the signal for octopus. And then after we finished the dive, I asked him, what did you feel about it? He said, I didn't feel. He said, I saw an octopus. So the octopus that I'm trying to communicate with him, that I'm trying to let him to feel that now there's something else, he imagined it. And for me, it was the spark to continue to be a specialized and to know more about people with disabilities, and then to empower them and to encourage more of them to dive and to try scuba diving.
Wow, not much to add to that. But you did mention, several people mentioned, the cost of equipment, the prohibitive cost of equipment. I would like to hear from the audience ideas, what could be an option? Is it venture capital? Is it cooperatives? Is it, angel investors? Is it venture philanthropy? Any ideas? Or Mike?
I think that sport can be particularly prohibitive when it comes down to cost. I think ultimately cost is something that should come in way down the list of priorities. Ultimately, we have the right to participate in sport however we choose to do that. I think when we get to the stage where funding is required, that's a basic human right in my mind, and I think that's something that governments and politicians need to really take into consideration, that through a lack of funding, you're really excluding people purely based on disability.
Tell us about this exclusion, discrimination because of, lack of funding.
Yeah, this is Faustino Cuadrado from Up and Town, Spain. And I would say we are investing in a wrong way the money, because investing in something which is expensive is bringing back a lot of benefit for the user and for the society, because they feel better, and we will save money in the health system and other systems. So it's investing for saving. And now we are putting the money on the health system, but maybe we should use this money for preventing and doing that people can do sports and can enjoy and can feel much better. Thank you.
Yeah, investment or a cost. James, what are your thoughts on that?
I think the gentleman is right. Investing for saving. Too often, we look at the upfront cost of something and we don't see the long-term potential. If you think about investing in, say, I don't know how many people might be familiar with something like a running frame, for example, which enables people to go out and take part in sport. That might look like a large upfront investment, but if you think about what you save in terms of helping a person to have a more active lifestyle, to be healthier, not to mention the mental health benefits and all sorts of other things that come with participation in sport. it is about taking the long view. I'm interested in the funding models that we talked about. I think Johanna talked about the interesting way in which the Finnish government provides support for specialist equipment. Would you like to share a bit about that with us, Johanna?
Sure. For Finnish NGOs, we get funding usually from the Ministry of Social Affairs and Health, like almost all NGOs. And that's also where we get our money. But for the customers, for people with disabilities, if they need a device or need some help, they have different ways to purchase the device. So they can always get it, for example, wheelchair as a medical rehabilitation, and then the device is free. But if you want to have a device for your hobby, then the social care pays half of the price, and you have to pay the rest yourself. And then we have these shared devices in our different towns. And then also this Malike rental system. These are like the main ways to get the device in Finland, I would say. But I think it's mainly, I would say that the condition in Finland is quite good, but there is still, and it's because we have a good legislation for people with disabilities. We have like so many laws which involves devices and people with disabilities. But I have to say that last week my colleague got maybe 4 devices that he would like to give away. They are so old and we don't use it anymore. So he put it in Facebook that if you want to apply these devices, if you need them. No, it was yesterday. He did it yesterday, and today he already got over, I think, almost 30 applications that we would need it and why we would need it. So I think in 24 hours he got so many replies. It tells that the need is big. But yeah.
You touch upon something very interesting, the second life of devices. The second life of, specialized devices, prolonging their shelf life. And I'll take that question to Ahmed, diving equipment isn't cheap to my knowledge, and it has to work perfectly well. And then you said that, sometimes you need to adapt it, which is like you use 3D technology for some specific parts of it. How do you look at that? How do you approach that? The investment part, the second life of equipment, the adaptation of the equipment that you need. Ahmed.
Yes, as I mentioned in my talk, that diving is not that expensive and not that cheap. It's something in middle, but it needs like a proper equipment, and this equipment it's not easy for everyone to afford, and that's why we're trying to maintain or to sustain this part through making some or through the cooperations with the corporate social responsibility and make partners. So we make like some cooperation with a lot of entities and a lot of organizations. Like our project, we just make a cooperation with Atujari Wafa Bank. Now we are on the process that they still sponsoring the training session itself, but not to customize the training. About the sustainability for equipment customization, I think we're trying now to finalize especially our virtual reality or augmented reality system. And then we have a lot of sponsors that they want to, they are eager actually to to help us for that. So basically, it's through cooperation and partnerships. We have a good partnership with Helm organization. We have a good partnership with Atjari Wafa Bank and also with the Azabi pharmacies. And also we're looking for more partnerships.
Partnerships. Mike, how do you work with partnerships? You know, where do you see value in partnerships?
I think ultimately within the sporting industry and within any industry in life, the most important aspect of a partnership is that you're both pulling in the same direction. Your morals, your values are aligned, and you're both doing this for the right reason. If one partner's there purely to try and make capital out of what you're doing, maybe they're not the right partner for you. I think as long as you have a shared goal in mind, and that shared goal really, in terms of what we're speaking about, has to be the better empowerment of disabled people through the sporting industry, I think then you're instantly onto a winner. If you know you've got the right person, that's half the battle most of the time.
Yeah, thank you. James, partnerships from a donor perspective. How do you see that? Your thoughts on that, please.
I think ultimately what every donor wants is to enable communities, and we only know what communities want because of the community voices that we should be open to listening to. I think Michael makes a very good point about the shared values and shared ethos that we need for a partnership to be successful. And from a funder donor point of view, I can agree more with that. I did have one question that I wanted to put back to the panel and to the audience out there. And it was something that I found really interesting, what Michael and Johanna were saying about provision of equipment. We talked about the role and the responsibility of government in providing or supporting the provision of some equipment. But I wondered, what is the opinion of everyone else in the room when we think about the provision of equipment in places where we do not have that legislative framework set up to support it? Is it always going to be dependent on global north, Western philanthropy? What is the solution? How do we support communities to be able to better access equipment regardless of where you are in the world?
Ariane, if you don't mind. Global South and the North.
Okay, I'm being
You saw that coming.
out as a donor. By the way, hi James, nice to see you even just on screen. Actually, I'll say two things. From a donor point of view, I think that the price is an issue because as a donor, we'd rather, we'd be happy to provide equipment, but we'd be so much happier to provide 5 rather than 1 with the same amount. And we really work on that altogether. Plus also, in Provectomies, we also try to push local production when you're talking, James, about in the south or elsewhere, just because of, in case of repair, it's so much easier to find the materials on the spot to repair. It's cheaper, it's easier by the people. So I think that's something really we need to look into, is how to produce it locally in the countries where it is. And since I have the floor, I'll take just a point from before when you're talking about how to tackle the price. And James was talking about the profit some of those companies were making, and I'm making a parallel to yesterday's one of the panels. What about working on the ESGs? Can't we bring disability or certain of these criteria part of the criteria on ESG for companies, which might eventually help to reduce the price, or have them being partner to help the different communities to access those products?
I would like to keep that as a discussion point, and probably work on some answers till we meet a year from now. Can we look at companies who are making a humongous profit just because they have a captive market there? And I think we will be looking at, Michael, we will be looking at you, the Zero Project, coordinating us around that with, whatever initiative might work. We will put that on your, homework for next year, but we will all contribute. We will all contribute.
Can I just put a thought in there, Christo?
Please.
Sorry. Just say that I think always traditionally the barrier to point of entry and why it is so difficult for, let's say, local production in Global South is always the cost of manufacture and the cost of tooling. If you think about what it costs to tool a factory, so to get it ready to manufacture a specific piece of equipment, it is a large cost. It is a very prohibitive cost. But I know that within that sort of the network of allies and friends that the Zero Project has gathered over the time that it's been running, I think that there is fertile ground for exploration when we think about manufacture and tooling.
Thanks a lot for that comment. Yeah, manufacturing and tooling. And well, everybody is talking now about shortening supply chains, moving, production where it's needed. Hopefully. Okay, final words. 10 seconds, everyone. Mike.
I think from my side, it's all about opportunity and about representation, giving disabled people that chance to do what they want to do. I think so many disabled people are fed up of being told what they can't do. They want to tell the world what they can and what they want to do. And it's time that the world starts listening more than it currently is.
Okay, representation, what you can do, not what you cannot do. James, over to you.
I'd echo Mike, representation, involvement, nothing about us without us.
Mm-hmm. And Johanna?
Thank you. I think we were talking a lot about the prices and the costs, but it's more about the political will that if we think it's important, leisure and sport, there will be funding for that. But it's more about what we decide it's important.
Thank you. Representation, political will. And Ahmed, finally to you.
For us, it's all about the inclusion. We're trying to raise awareness through people with disabilities and people without disabilities, that we can all do it together. It doesn't matter what is the disability, we all can try something new, like a challenge, like scuba diving, seeking like more freedom and joy and happiness. Thank you so much.
Try something new, joy and happiness. Thank you, everyone. Thank you, everyone, for your participation. A fantastic session. Thank you.